Hello everyone, this is Danny and I am back. It's been a very long time, but I thought with it being Spring Festival time, a lot of people are traveling and a lot of people don't actually know the rules, like what you should do when you leave and when you come back. So I thought I would make a video on information like that. Today's travel video will be about trains. What you need to know taking the Gautier or the fast train. First thing you need to know about is, well, buying the tickets. So how can you buy a ticket on the train? Now obviously not every city that you'll go in will have a train. Only slightly larger ones will have a Gautier. Some of them only have slow trains and some of them don't have any trains whatsoever. You'll have to take a bus to a bigger city. Usually those are only in very, very small places, so you might not be in it. But to buy a ticket, you can do it multiple ways. So you can obviously buy it at the train station. Some train stations will have foreigners or business class or veteran windows. My city has that. So if I want to buy a ticket or pick up a ticket, I need to go to that window. In other bigger cities, we'll have people that actually speak English. So if you do have some difficulties buying a ticket, they'll speak English to you. The easiest way though to get tickets is online. So you have multiple options. You have CTrip, or CTrip now it's called trip.com. I think that's what my app name changed to, trip.com. Be warned though that they do have a booking charge. It's all in English, but there is a booking charge for the trains, and it's usually, I think right now it's like 20 kwai. That's a lot of money. You can also do through WeChat. So if you have your bank account or money in your WeChat wallet, you can go through the WeChat app. If you go through WeChat wallet, you scroll down, there's a rails and flights. So you can even buy flights off of WeChat, which is pretty cool. There is no booking fee. Now, if you're a foreigner, there is an English version of it, and usually your app will automatically switch to English if your language setting is English. It'll ask you if you want to use the English version. Another option is 12306 or 12306. I've never used the service, although I know many foreigners who do. That one is all in Chinese that I know of. I don't think there's an English version of that yet. Now, if you buy them online, you will get a ticket pickup code. Usually they start with an E, and they'll automatically generate. So all you have to do is you need your passport. Even like China issues like ID cards now, like foreign expert something, like a little card with your picture on it. If you're a foreigner, you can't use those for anything really. Like, they haven't updated a system. I don't know if they're going to use this for the trains or not, but essentially that card is useless unless you're like re-upping or redoing your visa. They're essentially useless cards. You will need your passport and your phone with a code. But pickup is pretty easy. I would suggest, if you're picking up a ticket, to do it before. Now, you only need to go to your train to the train station about an hour before your train. If you're picking up a ticket, then you should probably go about an hour and a half, depending on the size of your train station. Obviously, the bigger the train station, the earlier you should get. So it's just honestly easier to pick it up the day before or something like that. Now, when you get your tickets, it is most common that the ticket office will be like outside the waiting room area for the trains. However, I only know of Shanghai that you can get into the station and buy your tickets in the same place as the waiting area. It's the only one I've seen like that. All other train stations I've been to so far, you have to go to the ticket office. Like, if you're in front of the building, you have to go to the ticket office, then exit that room, and then come into the train station. So just know the ticket office most of the time is outside. I would say like almost all of them, except for like Shanghai, maybe a few others. Second thing, check-in. So let's say you have your ticket and you're ready to go in. It's the day of your train. I would suggest getting there about an hour before your train, and when you check in, you'll line up. Like, there are metal fences? My English is gone, guys. However, you're forced to line up. People will still try and cut you. They'll still do it. But you're kind of forced to line up, and there'll be a lady there, and she'll be checking your ticket info and your ID. So you will need your passport out at this part. Some places will scan the ticket saying, oh, you've come, you're in, to make sure it's an actual ticket and stuff like that. And they'll look at your passport to make sure like the names are correct. You cannot buy a ticket on someone else's name. So like if my contact, I needed help getting a ticket, my contact bought it, he can't put his name and his information on it. It has to be my information on it. Okay? And then you'll just go through, and then there is a metal detector and a x-ray machine for your luggage. So just for people who like to pack a lot, I'm just letting you know, people cut in this part as well. So if you're taking time to put your luggage on the conveyor belt and someone's got one bag, they're gonna toss it down in front of yours and walk through the metal detector in front of you. Lining up is not a huge thing, okay? Once you do that, you're good and you're in the waiting area. Be careful with your trains and make sure you are at the correct train station. Many big cities have similar named stations. It won't be like a direction that's the difference. So I'll get more into that in transfers, which will be the next little section, okay? Sometimes you will need to push people out of your seat because the train also allows you to pay for a standing ticket, which means you don't get a seat assigned to you. So you literally have to, you're technically supposed to stand the whole time, but if I'm on a 4-hour train ride, I'm gonna try and steal an empty seat for a little bit, let's be real here. Yeah, so sometimes people will either be in your seat and you'll need to kick them out, or someone, if there's an empty seat next to you, someone might ask if someone's there. The next thing I'm gonna talk about is transfers. Transferring, so let's say you go from, well, what I did is I went from Shenzhen to Xiamen, Xiamen to Wenzhou. There is one big train that does that, but when I bought my tickets, the only available time was 8 o'clock in the morning, and I ain't doing that. So I split it up, and so I took a 10 a.m. train from Shenzhen to Xiamen, and then Xiamen to Wenzhou, and then Wenzhou to Lishui. You'll have to transfer at some point. So with this, when you're in a station and you're transferring within that station, I'll talk about that in a second. When you're transferring, a lot of the times you don't need to leave the station, okay? Very, very small stations, you will need to exit and then re-enter the building. So usually when you exit a train, they're dark blue arrows, and they'll obviously be in Chinese, but they have the English word transfer on them, or transfers. I think there's an S at the end. Follow the arrows and it will help you transfer. That meaning you won't have to exit the area and then come back in. It will literally, what it will do is it will tell you how to get back up into the waiting room area so that you don't have to leave the building and re-enter and go through the metal detector and stuff like that again. However, there is another video that shows that, so I'll link that video too. Now, for transfers though, make sure your station is correct. I made a mistake. Many large cities have multiple train stations, and their names will only be different by a little. There are some cities where the train stations are named completely different things. Other times they're just changed by a direction. Xiamen has multiple train stations. There's Xiamen, and the other one is, or it might have more than two, but I've only dealt with 2 of them. Xiamen Beijian. So that's Xiamen North. So the problem is Xiamen and Xiamen Beijian are like a 40-minute ride from each other. Okay? 40 minutes. So I had a 2-hour window in between those tickets. So I had to run to a taxi and get to the correct station. Okay? Make sure if you're transferring trains, make sure you get it at the same station. Okay? If not, you'll need a bigger window to get to your other station. Now, if you're transferring, I would say the time in between, if it's the same station, make sure it's the same station. I would say about 30 minutes in between. I know some people do 15 minutes, but I feel rushed on that. That seems like a little too small just in case something happens or you can't figure out how to transfer inside and you have to exit. I would say 30 minutes would probably be best. This is all I can think about that you need to know for trains. If you have any other questions or something to add, please leave it in a comment below, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!